28 months down, yeah, the industry's been bruised, but we're not here to fold, we're here to refuse. While others pause, we built the plays, now we're leading the charge in a brand new phase. You feel that tension, that's the pressure to grow. Hiring's messy, turnovers high and budgets low, but we don't panic, we adapt. We sharpen the edge and reload the map. This is the Staffing Playbook, strategy on tap. Steven brings the grit, G-Money brings the slap. Forget the fluff, forget the spin. We give you plays that actually win. From the break room floor to the boardroom seat, we've walked the walk, now we bring the heat. CDLs, forklifts, line leads, and execs. We place the best and fix the wrecks. Insight, hustle, leadership bold. No safe takes, just the truth told cold. Wanna scale your team, wanna close that gap. We got the data, the story, and the roadmap. So turn it up, lock it in. This is more than a podcast, it's a win. This is the Staffing Playbook. Let's get to work, it starts right now.
Welcome back to the Staffing Playbook Podcast for this very special 3-part series, Cracking the MSP Code. I'm your host, Steve Farrell, and I'm joined by no other than my co-host,
G-Money with the slap, aka Genevieve Bourgeois. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited because we have 2 phenomenal guests, but we're gonna mess up their names. So introduce yourself, ladies first.
Yes, we do have 2 fantastic guests. Mandy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mandy Hileman. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce Solutions for Triage Plus. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh.
Hello, everyone. Josh Moskoviz, Vice President of Client Services at ASA, part of Trio Workforce Solutions.
And welcome back for your second appearance on the Staffing Playbook Podcast. We had you on earlier this year with Beth Fensky, part of our 3-part series, what HR and MSPs really think about staffing agencies, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I know you know this, I've shared it with you, but that's been one of our most popular episodes to date. Still gets active downloads on a daily basis. So, this series we're doing today is really almost a part 2 of what we did the first time with you and Beth, Josh. But this time we've got Mandy, and we're going to be cracking the MSP code. So you agencies out there that are trying to crack the MSP code, maybe you just hate your MSP. Maybe you love your MSP. I don't know, but we're gonna help you fall in love with your MSP again.
Better yet, maybe you're not communicating with your MSP the way you should be.
Don't give the secrets yet.
Mic drop.
So this is a 3-part series. Episode 1 is today, the one-way mirror. So we are going to, through the lens of Mandy and Josh, really figure out what's going on in these clinics. What are they seeing? What are some of the pain points they're having? So we can translate that over to you, the agency, so you can be a better partner to take care of these openings. The second episode will be after this one is, where did all the A players go? And how much is a C player actually costing you? And how do you increase the rate on your submittals if you have an A player that is worth that extra increase that you're asking? And how do you sell that? So we're going to dive into that. And then our last episode, closing out the series, we're going to be digging into how to maximize value as well as minimizing risk. We're talking about compliance out there, how expensive it is, and the type of risk you are likely exposed to that you may not know that you're exposed to it. So tune into this impactful series, and we're going to kick it off today with the one-way mirror. And I'd like to first start this discussion because we're going to rapid fire Josh and Mandy with a bunch of questions.
We're ready.
So I want to lay the framework out. I want to just kind of paint a picture of what's happening out there right now. So healthcare job openings took a steep downward trend in July. Healthcare and social assistance openings fell by 181,000. The openings rate dropped from 5.8 in June to 5.1. And so hires were essentially flat. Quit rate was much higher than the same time last year. If you're talking to people boots on the ground, managers are choosier, recs get pulled, reposted, approvals are much tighter. If you look at hospitals, when it comes to staffing, it's stable but still defensive. You've got the median operating margin has been roughly around 3 to 3.7% mid-year. That's better than 2022 and 2023, but it's not a spend freely territory. And so what you can expect is rate discipline, compliance, rigidity, tiering pressure. Healthcare staffing is really shifting when it comes to where the demand actually is. We all were there when travel nurses were just going crazy. And then in 2024, nurse revenue fell off 37%. With volume and rates, and the recovery has been sluggish. And, there's a lot of behavioral shift migrating towards per diem and local flexibility. You were still leaning on niche allied where vacancies persist, especially in, the CT space and imagery. Allied imaging remains a pain point. And so all of that said, there's a lot going on in the healthcare industry. And if you're a staffing provider, you're aligning with an MSP or want to align with an MSP, we're going to dig into it today. Did I miss anything, Josh or Mandy, when it comes to just what the market looks like, the landscape?
It's a pretty solid intro to our discussion.
Absolutely.
All right, here. We are ready for you to go drop some knowledge, inform us, tell us what we're missing. Let's do it.
If I had a whistle like Richard Rosner, the staffing shark, I'd hit that whistle, and that's our sign to go.
I never learned how to do that thing. Okay.
Me neither.
Me neither.
Oh,
Me neither.
All right. So we're gonna do a tell it like it is. Questions for Josh and Mandy. First question. We're gonna start with Mandy.
Okay.
When JOLTS shows healthcare openings down 181,000 and quits are at 2.1%, what changes tomorrow in how you run programs? What are those changes? What gets frozen? What gets reposted first? Give us some insights.
Yeah, I would say that the tough part about the decrease in openings is that the openings that we're seeing are really hard to fill openings. So they're not just like your average med-surg job, or they're not just, one of the more common openings. It's more of the niche openings like L&D, or you mentioned in the intro, the CT X-ray jobs and imaging. The jobs are a lot more specialized than I think they have been for a while. And so for me, it's more about maybe looking for those vendors that specialize in those areas and forming partnerships with them, or just really honing in on quality too. I think it was a staffing industry analyst report yesterday that there's a lot of clinician, I can't remember the word they use, but like mistrust basically, or clinician confidence. And I think that we're seeing that, we want to make sure we're just getting the best quality candidate over to our clients.
So you're telling me that those kind of floor positions are a little bit harder to come by. There's these more, niche positions that are in high demand that we all know about. And so, that's where, as an agency partner, you need to get clear on what the demand is and how you can go and get that supply.
Yeah. I think also like uncovering what your client needs consistently. So building a bench of candidates.
Now that's just crazy talk. Josh, why don't you help Mandy out?
I also think it's really interesting when it comes to the clinician trust piece. So yeah. We'll dive into that in a minute. Josh, what's your answer?
Just realized I was on mute. Sorry about that. I'm going to add on to what Mandy said, because everything she said is true, valid, accurate for current state. Another way of looking at it is the job requisitions that are opening today, tying back to Steve's intro also, are going through a very lengthy vetted approval process internally, which in turn means the job requisitions that agencies are seeing out there are going to stick. For so long, the travel nurse, travel allied healthcare space has been reactive staffing versus proactive. And you're seeing a shift, which is kind of to the benefit of everybody, despite the down numbers right now. The shift to proactive means it's truly the needs to fill vacancies, to get health systems over the hump. I think there's a misconception that temp labor is more than a means to an end. Like a health system, if they've got a high percentage of travelers in the building, they have a bigger retention recruitment issue going on, which is other issues that are outliers that agencies not necessarily are paying attention to. But you want your health system to be robust in their staffing methods. And you also want your travelers to have a great experience when they go there, because the worst thing that could happen is somebody gets there for an assignment and the environment is just not where somebody wants to work and they leave before their 13 or 26 weeks are up. And that's even worse, especially in the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
Here, I was going to say, I really like what you said there. Like more travelers, it probably is indicating more so a retention issue. And also, I would like to go follow up on the point that when it comes to the job recs, and please excuse little man snoring in the back. He can't help it. He can't help it.
He's living his best life.
Yeah.
We need to schedule a rhinoplasty for him. Let me know if y'all can help. But so going back to the whole requisitions, it sounds like there's fewer from both of you, right? They're more niche, but they're more sticky, meaning that there's more validity behind it. Like they're a valid job versus just staffing a position that's more generic. Okay.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct. And on top of that, there's a misconception that the industry is in a big downturn also. If you look at the numbers that I believe it was SIA put out from 2019 to now, it's still up from 6 years ago, from a pre-pandemic setting. What I think is the misconception right now is pandemic era staffing was so robust, and there may have been this assimilating a new norm type scenario where it was never going to be sustainable. I mean, if it continued at the trajectory it was, I don't know that there would be money left.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it sounds like the benchmark was reset during COVID, right? Because of everything. And so that it was really an outlier. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
When Josh and I started in the staffing industry 20 plus years ago, we were working at $52 bill rates for MedSurg. And now people are scoffing at like 90.
$52 bill rates. I had hair, like things were crazy back then.
That's what, so just look at Josh. That's 20 years in healthcare staffing right there.
Right?
It's
exactly.
a great idea. Like it's a great reminder. Like we feel like the industry is down, but you make a great point. It's still, there's more openings and more availability of jobs than there was back in 2019.
That's really interesting because there is mixed signals in the market, right? You could be looking at the data and saying, okay, it's been normalized. You had this spike during COVID. We all know about that. We knew that wasn't going to be the new norm. We didn't know that at the time. But it's starting to level back to your point, Josh. You said back to 2019 levels. But
still ahead of 2019.
Or ahead of 2019 levels.
Yeah.
And so, but then again, you still see, the high demand in some of these niche areas where it's more specialty, and it looks like clinics are really doing their FTEs just fine on their own. which is a good thing. We want that for them, but it does create a little bit of a barrier for agencies trying to fill some of those more easier, normalized positions that they're used to filling, especially during COVID. But there's, you look at the labor numbers out there, and it is a little, it's really compelling because you've got, I believe it's around 25% of nurses that are age 55 or older. So they're baby boomers. They're entering that retirement phase, and many put that off because of the economy where it's going. But as we see the stock market have historical highs, people are feeling good about their 401ks, and they're looking long-term stability. When that consumer demand stabilizes and starts to increase, you'll see a lot of these people feel good about retiring. And I think that's going to create a major gap in the healthcare system for healthcare staffing, that for agencies out there that are struggling right now, we've got to be more forward thinking, looking to the next 5 years of, hey, there's going to be a serious shortage again. And it's not going to be because of COVID. It's just because you've got this aging demographic that's deciding to retire. The nursing schools aren't filling up like they used to, not like they were in the 90s. And so, what do you guys say about that? Are we looking, are you having conversations with your agencies about, not just filling the niche today, but the demand for tomorrow?
Absolutely. And I think that's where the partnership between a vendor and an MSP really has opportunity to grow and to become a more trusted partner. Doing things the way you've always done when the landscape is changing is not going to be a successful business model. To your point, forward thinking, think outside the box, new ways of recruiting, like Mandy said, building a bench on specialties that you're seeing as repeat occurrences in the program you're supporting. I mean, those are great opportunities to grow your business in what some view as a challenging environment. Mandy, if you wanted to add anything to that.
I think that we're also seeing moves into areas that none of us have ever staffed before. So whether it's a move to ambulatory, there's a lot of companies talking about looking at staffing schools, whether it's school nurses or speech pathologists or even like substitute teachers. Like, I think that the need is always going to be there in healthcare staffing, but to make up some of that revenue or some of that volume, people are starting to look at other avenues for staffing too. So I think that that's something that I would recommend that all staffing agencies, like to Josh's point, you can't just continue what you've done for the last 20 years, and that's not a sustainable business model. You have to look outside the box, not only in your current relationships and partnerships, like contact your MSP and ask, where are you looking to expand to? Are you looking at new business segments that we can help partner with you on? So I think that that's, part of your business strategy as well.
No, that's insightful. I'm also thinking about, I know healthcare is like the last to adopt technology. I believe they still use fax machines instead of emails, but I'm just kidding. But I'm thinking about, these AI tools that help with candidate screening, with validating credentials, with some of the onboarding tasks and communication. Obviously the agencies that are already adopting that type of AI into their workflows, they're one step ahead of the competition, maybe even 10 steps ahead, because they're just getting to the candidate faster using AI. They're engaging faster, they're onboarding and validating much quicker. But what happens when your clinics hypothetically start doing that on their own? Where's the value in an agency? Certainly there's other things we can do better than they can with our capacity.
I think there's a couple of ways you could look at. There's a big focus on two things. One is internal FTE hires, and then when you're using temp labor, rates. Mandy and I are really on a weekly basis, I would say at this point, possibly daily, depending on where the health system is located, constantly being asked to look for cost savings, cost containment, adjusted rate card opportunities. ways to further help the health system in their budget recovery from the past couple of years. And if you go back to our topic of think outside the box to succeed in the different landscape that's going on here right now, if you're saving money on recs, does that offer opportunity for more recs to be open because it's at a lesser cost? I'm not saying that there's a yes or a no to that, but think about not your agency bottom line per se, but the health system bottom line.
Yeah.
That's good. Yep.
That's a great point. And so you just said something about rate cards. Okay. So we're in a people business, right? But I mean, there's AI, there's technology, and you're doing so much. You're going between an agency and clients, right? And so, why do you think I left doing like running a 360 desk? Okay. I went into marketing. There's a reason why.
You wanted to keep your hair, right? Is that-
Yes. So just can you go and give us like just a good example about like what's one mistake that gets like a rate like accepted, like, or not accepted, excuse me, exception, just request denied, even if the rec is pretty hard to fill?
Great question.
I feel like if you're going to ask for a rate increase, there needs to be the why behind it. So whether it's, maybe housing in that area has skyrocketed, or there's a lack of housing, or, you have a really great candidate, but they have another offer out there that is higher than what we're able to offer. And, it's really important when you're approaching your MSP about a rate increase to provide that information or have a candidate in hand that you can offer rather than just saying, I think we need a rate increase and not having anything to offer up to support that. That's really my advice is show the why behind it, because, we're staffing nationwide and you might be the expert in a certain geography and we need your expertise in that. And we want to hear your feedback and what you're hearing from your candidates.
Love it. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Mandy's right. Data reigns supreme right now. It's what does the competitive market look like? Mandy and I have talked a lot about labor and delivery lately. Labor and delivery is a niche that has come back in nursing. On the locums provider side, which we support in our MSP, that's also a big thing right now, whether it be OB or MFM. It's a very big service line, again, for temporary coverage due to a variety of factors. So if the demand outweighs the supply, does that create an opportunity for a rate increase? Perhaps, but part of that journey is communication with Mandy's and my teams, and how our delivery teams are working with the clients. Is there an opportunity where you need to do that as a one-off? Because you don't want to come back to where it becomes the norm, because there's still shock from the past couple of years. But there's the one-off scenarios that use labor and delivery. We could talk about imaging, where the demand is completely outpacing the supply right now. If there's one-off instances where it's going to get the health system over the hump and also be a potential revenue generating position, that's a far different conversation than if you're going to say, I have this med surg nurse that wants $10 an hour more. That's going to fall on deaf ears 95% of the time.
Okay, so be proactive, provide the data, okay, and just kind of understand the supply and demand and just have the good basic conversation. Are those like the 3 takeaways that our viewers here can walk away with and be like, oh, okay, I can't ask for this without X, Y, and Z?
I think also too, it's like reading the room to make sure that, you're not asking for a rate increase within like the first 5 minutes. If you call up, or maybe you have that great candidate that doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes after the request is released or if it's 24 hours, but they need a rate increase. It's more about, again, communication, calling the vendor up, asking your MSP, do you have any other candidates currently? Because you might be asking for a $10 increase, but we already have 5 candidates for that job that are really quality candidates. So I think it's just more about asking questions and presenting yourself as a partner, as opposed to like, we just need this for no reason.
That's great. And I actually have some follow-up we're going to do in the next episode on rate increase requests, because when we're going to be talking about A players, that ties into the discussion.
Nice.
So here's the thing. We're looking at the one-way mirror into the healthcare industry. When it was really booming, it was the anomaly, and during COVID, a lot of staffing agencies, really invested in infrastructure and more recruiters, more compliance, more software, and to take on that demand, right? And then when demand kind of goes back to normalized levels, like where we're at today, and some people would say it may seem normal, but doesn't feel normal. Recs are still really hard to come by, and it's competitive because everybody's eating each other's lunch to cut the line and whatever they need to do to get that order and get their candidates submitted. And so let's talk about some scorecards that matter in your mind, Josh and Mandy, with all the agencies you work with. Which we'll start with you, Josh. Which 2 metrics move the supplier the most during this quarter and next quarter that are going to bump them up so they can have the opportunity to get you the right candidates? Is it the submissions to interview? Is it interview to start? Is it cancel rate, extension ratio? Give your cut lines here.
I'd say on-time starts. And I'd also say assignment completion. And you can interpret it as that or retention. So here's why those over actual candidate flow. It's a lot of time and resources from everybody involved for the placement of a traveler. And if their start date gets delayed, that just starts an avalanche of issues on everybody's side, whether it be agency margins because their housing gets altered, educators that the health system has hired to orient them for week 1 or however long they're orienting their travelers on site. The unit has plotted out their staffing for the next 4, 6, or 8 weeks, depending on how their scheduling goes. Any delay just throws everything off course with continued residual effects. So meeting that start date 100% of the time, that's an A player partner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on-time start.
And then completions of assignments.
Completions. Okay.
I wrote
You get them
assignment
there.
completions. I wrote it backwards, but no, it makes sense.
No, assignment completions is a good way to state it. So you get there, you get their orientation, and now there's 13 weeks of coverage that you're providing. If you don't make it through those 13 weeks, everything we just talked about the on-time starts repeats itself again. And the further into an assignment you get, if suddenly you're not there, that the next round of scheduling has taken place. It's really this delicate balance that takes place with that coverage.
Okay, that's great. Mandy, how about you?
I agree with what Josh says there. I feel like, it's great to have submit to placement ratio, but if you can't deliver on that placement, then that ratio or that, that metric doesn't mean a lot if you can't deliver an on-time start, or if that person starts the first week and quits. So I think those are the most important. But with that, I think that goes hand in hand with assignment completion is cancellation rate. You got to get them on assignment and then they got to complete the assignment. So I would say the one I would add to that's a close second to on-time start is cancellation rate or back out rate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm I can imagine as if you're in a clinic and you're counting on someone to start and they cancel last minute the day of, the day before, or they start for one day and they're like, no, I'm out of here. I mean, then you're starting from scratch, and that really hurts the relationship, right? Because they
Yeah.
were counting on that.
Yeah.
It
And whatever
hurts.
you do, do it consistently. You're only as good as your last placement.
Yep.
Hmm.
There we go. Because that's something that definitely hurts the healthcare industry, but also time is the most expensive thing that we have to offer. It's the most valuable thing we have to offer, but it
Mhm.
also impacts the agency. So making sure that you're qualifying and making sure that you're getting the right candidate who will actually be dependable, it's the right thing for everyone involved. So
Mhm.
great. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's lean into this some more. Let's move into cycle time reality. You know, we'll start with you, Mandy. What credentialing, clearing targets separate your top performing agency partners from everyone else in your programs?
What targets, like as far as their turnaround time,
That's
or
right. Yeah.
okay. I mean, if you can turn around a placement within 2 weeks or 14 days and have that person start on time, that's really important for any affiliate that we're working with, a staffing agency, because I think everybody, promises a quick turnaround, but it's actually delivering on that. So, or even if you have some candidates that have worked for you previously that you're able to, replace with us, we know then you're going to have a lot of the compliance on file already. And so that helps kind of ease everybody's nerves going into a placement. If we can upload, like I always recommend, upload your documents into your MSP partners tool right away. Don't wait until the deadline, because that takes a lot of the stress off of the placement. If the MSP can see how much compliance you have on file right away. So maybe it's even like, it's like, how quickly can you get there before the deadline? I guess that's like what we would love. We would love to take that stress off of our compliance team.
So
It's like
don't procrastinate.
Yes.
It's like the Domino's order thing, the tracker, like, we got your order. Now we're preparing the food.
Yes. Yes.
Out for delivery. Like you want to be able to have that type of tracker. You can see that they are diligently working on getting this candidate fully onboarded. So upload the documents
Oh, absolutely.
real time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then with that, because, I think sometimes where if you are short staffed in your compliance area, because that's usually some of the areas that get, cut first or looked at, they're kind of working in the moment, right, for the next closest start date. And so it's tough sometimes, because then you get to that placement that was 3 weeks ago and you're like, oh man, we don't have half of this stuff. So it's, if you could just take a moment to upload what you have, I think it would make everybody feel really good.
Yeah. Thank you. Josh.
I agree with all that. I think
even the Domino's tracker.
Well, especially the Domino's tracker. I know I'm paying for lunch now. I think also having that stability in communication from the vendor side. So if you have dedicated team members to support the MSP, whether it's Triage or also Trio Workforce Solutions, that know our programs, understand our compliance, are a familiar name to our MSP teams, that goes a really, really long way. And I think it helps differentiate as well. Getting back to the on-time starts and complete assignments and cancellations hold a lot more weight than just file flow on a daily basis. I mean, trust and counting on our vendor panel. We're only as good as our vendors supporting our programs. So whatever can be done to keep building that momentum, we're always in favor of that.
Okay. Oh, that's really helpful. All right, I'm gonna kind of pressure test you guys a little bit here, from the agency side. So I'm gonna interrogate you. Hope that's okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
So Mandy, you had mentioned earlier, you made a comment of having a bench. Make a bench. I think we all want to build a robust bench. There's a cost that comes with that, right? Because of the credentialing and the recruiting and all of the other tasks that come with it. And so, you're, as an agency, you're investing in that upfront cost and with the expectation that, you're going to place this person on an assignment. And so, budgets are tight, and a lot of positions are being taken in-house, especially those floor positions. So, when you're talking to your clinicians and looking at the types of openings and the demand they have versus demand that they don't have, which recs do you typically kill early? And communicate that to your vendors. How do they anticipate the recs so they can invest the time and money to make sure it's with the right candidates for the right roles before they just burn submittals? Help us out there. Give us some clarity.
Yeah. I think it's important to have a good relationship with your MSP and the program manager and have that contact regularly to say, what are you hearing from your client? What recs are going to come up? Or, even in, I'm sure Trio has this, but in Triage Plus, you can run, the requests that you've had over the last 90 days. And so just doing an analysis of the recs that come out for each client program and looking at those. So I feel like that's one thing that, if you wanted to be proactive on building the bench, it's looking at what requests have been posted over the last 90 to 120 days and using that, because likely if we have somebody in there, we're going to need possibly a replacement if that person doesn't extend, or if that person is terminated or has a family emergency, we're going to need a quick backfill. So if you see that we always have those requests, have somebody available. The other thing that I see happen a lot is that when you build a bench, you have to have a bench that's open to go to a wide geography. So saying that my candidate's open to 50 miles of this particular zip code, you got to move on from those candidates, because they're going to, you're going to spend a lot of time cultivating that relationship with that candidate, and they're really only open to a really small territory. So really focusing and trying to open up where your candidate's willing to go.
Okay.
And I just got a quick question. Because I know that you just said looking back into the trends of the past 90 to 120 days, but what about the seasonality of the industry? Because cold and flu season, it's coming right around the corner. Is that something that you would advise? Don't you dare do that. I'm so happy I'm across the country.
Josh, you want to jump on that one, or you want me to?
But
you can go
that
first.
Something that you think
it's a follow-up question for you.
Yeah,
it's
I think
actually
that
for both of you.
There used to be more seasonality. There's always going to be seasonality in some areas. You have Florida or Arizona or the areas in the South that the snowbirds go to. That's always going to increase the number of requests for those areas. In Nebraska is where I'm at, that it's a little bit harder to, forecast seasonality. Every year, everyone's like, oh man, it's going to be a bad cold and flu season. We're going to see requests spike. And I get nervous every time they say that, because then it doesn't happen. And then everybody's kind of disappointed. Sadly, I know that sounds bad, but so it's easy to predict seasonality in some areas. We always know Arizona is going to need a bunch of med surg and telemetry nurses and ICU nurses. We know that. I think OR, you can seasonality predict as well, because people want to get their case done. If you've been waiting to have that knee replacement done, everybody wants to get it done before the end of the year, before their deductible is brand new again at the first of the year. So you can kind of predict that your surgical areas are gonna spike, the last quarter of the year, because they're gonna have an influx in cases.
Makes sense. Josh?
Adding on to that, the seasonality component. So this is typically the time of year where health systems ramp up for the fall, winter holiday coverage. Kind of pivoting off of Mandy's point about somebody with a specific search radius, needs that are here right now, if you have candidates that are asking for all the holidays off and block scheduling, they're not getting hired right now.
Exactly.
that is, and that's nothing new.
Right.
However, if you're viewing a tougher market, you need those candidates that are flexible and understand that they're being brought in to allow the full-time staff to take this time off during the holiday season. So you're going to see most assignments this time of year from a seasonality perspective, looking for 2 out of the 3 holidays to be covered. And that is not, 1, out of the ordinary, 2, a big ask, because you're still getting a holiday off, even as a traveler. However, you're covering for that staff that's probably pretty burned out from the rest of the year and getting that much needed time off to go into the January, February, March months of cold and flu season, where there still may need to be additional temp staff, but the health system wants their FTEs to be able to perform at the top of their license at all times.
Yeah. All right. I lost track of time. I can't believe we have been talking for 40 minutes and feels like we just got through the first question. I want to hit you guys with a rapid fire. So I'm going to ask a question and then a 1 to 2 sentence answer from each of you.
Sure.
And we'll start with Mandy. So I want to talk about what must be in a perfect submission to get same day review. Is that unfit matrix, prior manager feedback, reliability status, shift, floating flexibility? What's that perfect submission to get that instant attention from you, Josh and Mandy, where you're like, ooh, I want to know more about this candidate. This looks good. Let's start moving forward.
I think it's just nailing the submittal requirements. I can't speak for Josh's program, but in our program, we require a license verification within the last 30 days, just to make sure they don't have any active discipline on their license. And you'd be amazed at that's been our requirement for years, and it gets missed. Because maybe the recruiter doesn't run it, and then they send it to the account manager, and then it gets submitted to us, and we kick it back to them. So I think just paying close attention to the details of the request. And then, make sure you highlight any areas on the resume that make them a great fit for this position. So if that means maybe tailoring the resume a little bit to highlight the previous travel experience, or, we work with some rural health hospitals, and it's important to them that the traveler have experience in rural health previously. Highlight that that's a critical access hospital for us, so that we can really just make sure we see it quickly, that it's a really good fit.
Good. Great. Josh.
Adding to that, I would say attention to detail. So hospital that they worked at, what level acuity, what was the nurse to patient ratio on that unit? Did they float? Those are really, really big details that hiring leaders are looking for and are going to put your candidate at the front of the line. So often it's just sending a resume with name of hospital, location, amount of time worked there. Okay, that's nice. But if a hiring leader doesn't know that location, that doesn't give them any background. And I had a teacher in college once who said, in business, you have 20 to 30 seconds to get someone's attention. That's your 20 to 30 seconds right there. If you haven't gotten them there, your candidate's probably not getting the interview.
So attention to detail, high level bullet points, floating experience, blank, 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 blank. Best advice you can give out. Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Mandy, if a supplier does one operational change this month to become let's call it an always call partner, right? What is it, and how do you measure it? Just one operational change.
One operational change. I would say, there's a lot of MSP partners out there, and I think that a staffing company tries to be a good partner to everybody. So really in the next 90 days, if you want to impact your business, I think it's really honing in on a couple of the MSP partners that are responsive and that are moving your candidates, and really just focusing on submittals to those partners.
Okay.
So you could track, I guess, how we're going to measure it is, how many submittals did we get to those partners? Not that you're going to abandon those other relationships, but if you really want to make an impact in the next 90 days, just focus your efforts a bit more and not just try to be everything to everyone.
Yes, that's a common theme. Okay.
Great answer. Josh?
That's totally sage advice. I love that. I would also say build your relationship with your MSP partner. Everybody's using email. Pick up the phone. I know that sounds super old school, but talk to them for 5-10 minutes. What's going on? Where are you having trouble? Where can I lean in as a trusted partner to help you out? That's going to go a really, really long way. It doesn't need to be a 30-minute sales pitch. I mean, there's even me personally, and I'm not involved in program management. I have 20 to 30 emails a day wanting to set up time to schedule a call. Just pick up the phone.
Yeah. To that point, I think even
Your phone.
the phone, if you submit a candidate, instead of emailing to say, when is my candidate going to interview, call your MSP partner up and say, how did my submittal look? Did I have everything in the submittal? How does the quality of my candidate compare to the other candidates? Make it less about like, get the interview done and more about like, how did my submittal look? Did I meet your needs on this?
Yeah.
And that goes back to the attention to detail, but also building that relationship and just being like, okay, here. But I love what you said, both of you. It's like, ask them, hey, what else can we do? What are your other areas, rather than just focusing in on, like, let's just say I'm an agency, focusing in on my WIFM, what's my need or what's in it for me, focusing in.
I love it.
But focusing on
Yeah.
your needs and your problems, because that also creates new opportunities for agencies as well. So thank you both.
I used to have a goal. I was a supplier to Mandy way back in the day, and I had gotten it to the point that Mandy knew it was me when I called.
Yeah.
If
For
you can
good or
get to
bad.
that point, you've built your partnership with the MSP. If they know your number and they say, oh, hey, insert name.
If they give you their cell phone number, like you're on.
Also that.
Like then you're like, communicating all the time, or like you're not like when Josh calls, I wasn't like, this is Mandy. I was like, what's up?
I
What do
still
you
regret
want?
giving Steve my number, because there are times I look at it and I'm like,
Denied.
no, I'm just like, I'm busy.
All right.
Or
So
else, no,
I know we're
thank
coming
you.
up on
That's
time.
great.
We are going to go into a lot more detail into the next episodes. Can't thank you guys enough. That's the mirror. Budgets are tight. Approvals are even tighter. The scorecards don't lie. And so on the next episode, we're going to be talking about where did all the A players go. We're going to expose what we call the C player tax, which is lost productivity, manager babysitting time, turnover. We're going to run the math here with Josh and Mandy, and we're gonna figure out why or who's paying above the rate card for the right clinician, and how that can actually save money. So, Josh and Mandy, we're gonna have you just spell out the signals of an A player, what that looks like, and how businesses can graduate or vendors can graduate from vendor to partner. So don't miss episode 2. It's going to be a blast. And again, Josh, Mandy,
Thank you.
looking forward to the
Thank
next
you.
two
A lot of fun.
episodes.
Oh,
Super.
like I can't wait till next week.
I know.
All right, everyone.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you for joining us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching today's episode. This episode is sponsored by Staffing Referrals. We have relied on staffing referrals for years to turn satisfied associates into brand ambassadors, keeping quality talent coming in and lift retention. See what it can do for you at staffingreferrals.com or click on the link in the description. Thanks for watching.